So today we are ranking every location from Chapter 2 as Chapter 2 Remix has returned, but we're just going to be going over the POIs from the first few seasons, as those are the seasons that are going to be featured in the new OG season. And let's be honest, the first couple of seasons featured all of the best POIs anyway, and at the end of the video we'll look at the brand new POIs and go over where I'd rank them compared to all the others. So let's go over these and rank them from worst to best. So at number 20 it's gotta be Coral Castle. Everyone would probably put it last, so I'm just gonna do the same. I think the worst thing about this POI was the lack of loot. I literally never left this location with good loot in my inventory. The layout of the POI wasn't great, although I didn't mind the coral theme. This one had to be bottom of the list. Number 19, Rickety Rig. This was not in the game for very long and it wasn't the best. During Season 3, the flooded POI was unique, but I wasn't a huge fan of landing there. Number 18, the Fortilla. This was also in Season 3, and similar reasons to Rickety Rig, the layout and structure of the POI wasn't convenient. Although it was unique, a lot of people didn't like the flooded map, as it was not the best concept having flooded POIs with water everywhere, and this one wasn't terrible, but not my favourite. Number 17, the Rig. Added during Season 2, get some bonus points as it did have the TNT boss with the boom bow, but other than that it wasn't the best in my opinion. Number 16, Steamy Stacks. I did land here a few times and I liked the tall structures that allowed you to boost into the air and glide away, so that was cool and a good form of mobility, but it was quite basic, not terrible, just stuck in the corner of the map, and there was never really much action there. Number 15, Dirty Docks. I didn't mind landing here, had lots of chests, and although on the edge of the map, it was not bad at all, liked the theme of this, and I did like landing here now and again. Number 14, Weeping Woods. Basically Wailing Woods 2.0, lots of trees and a few cabins with loot, also had caravans with chests, as well as campfires, which was a good addition. Overall, I liked it, but I didn't land here much. Number 13, The Authority. Although it was definitely a downgrade from the agency, it wasn't terrible. Located in the center of the map, lots of loot, usually a lot of people landing here, featured zip lines on the edge of the POI. I wasn't a huge fan overall, but it definitely wasn't the worst. Number 12, Holly Hedges. Quite an average POI, featured a few buildings and loot. I think this one had to be in the middle of the list. Not bad, but nothing great about it. Number 11, Slurpy Swamp. I loved the theme with this, lots of loot, and the best part about it was the slurp, which gave you shield in the swamp areas surrounding it. Also had slurp trucks as well. I liked landing here and it does feel quite nostalgic. I remember a lot of late games ending in this POI with the final circle, quite memorable. Number 10, Craggy Cliffs. I'll be honest, I loved this POI. It was on the edge of the map, so usually was quiet, but it was always a great vibe, so much loot to offer, loved the layout of the location, and it was right next to the ocean, so you could even do a little bit of fishing if you wanted to. Used to land here so much during quarantine, and I was tempted to put this even higher. Number 9, Catty Corner. I liked this POI. It featured Kit as the boss, which had the Kit Charge Shotgun and Shockwave Launcher, which were really good mythics. For that alone, it had to be quite high on the list. It also featured a vault with even more loot, a really good POI overall. Number 8, the Yacht. This was a really unique POI, located in the top right part of the map. Really enjoyed landing here, and it did get revamped into Deadpool's yacht in Season 2, which was even better. Although it was technically a different POI, it was very similar, just with a different theme, so we'll judge them as one location. It featured Meowscles as the boss, with the Piao rifle. Then the Deadpool version obviously had Deadpool as the boss, which had the dual pistols, which were good fun to use. Number 7, Lazy Lake. This was basically the Tilted Towers of Chapter 2, and it wasn't my favourite, but I have to admit that it was always quite action-packed, and obviously featured lots of loot in the different buildings. Didn't land here much, but you've got to say it was a good POI. Number 6, Frenzy Farm. This was probably my most landed location of Chapter 2. Great farm themed location, always landed at the main building and it had so much to offer. Also located quite central on the map, so it was good in that aspect as well. In Season 3 it became flooded, which was pretty cool, but the original was definitely the best. Number 5, now we're getting to the really good ones, Sweaty Sands. I loved this POI as well. Right on the beach was a great vibe and kind of reminded me of Paradise Palms. Might be quite high on the list, but I really liked this location. Definitely one of my personal favourites. Number 4, Misty Meadows. This was such a good POI. The perfect place to land in duos and squads. Probably the best in terms of loot as well. You could easily get all the loot you needed here with the amount of chests. Also had fishing stations nearby if you wanted to do that. And this was so good. Number 3, the Shark. This was a great themed location, and it was always great fun landing here. Added in Season 2, it featured Sky as the boss, which had the mythic Scar and Grappler with infinite uses. Definitely one of the best bosses, and for that alone, it had to be really high up on the list. Number 2, the Grotto. This was legendary, featuring Brutus as the boss with the mythic minigun. It was amazing. Had IO guards there as well, lots of loot, chests, clothing booths as well where you could disguise yourself, and this was definitely one of the best. Loved landing here, and it was a super unique POI as well. And at number 1, it is of course the Agency. Don't really need to explain this one too much. In my opinion, the second best POI of all time behind Tilted Towers. Everyone loves this location, featured Midas as the boss with the mythic drum gun, and of course the keycard which gave you access to the vault. This also feels so nostalgic as well. The amount of time I spent here during quarantine was crazy. The agent theme, boss, loot, mythic weapon and vault. It was perfect. So now we're going to go over the 3 new POIs and go over where I would put these in the list. It's hard to say as they're very new and we haven't gotten all of them yet, but let's start with the Doggpound, which is the Snoop Dogg version of the Agency, and this one does look pretty amazing and definitely super unique. I'd probably put it top 5. I love the concept and low-key, the design is really good on this. A lot of people may not like it because it is obviously a collab themed POI, and obviously the Agency is definitely a better version, but this is still a really cool remixed version and I don't hate it. Now for the Spaghetti Grotto, which is the new Eminem themed grotto, it does look really cool. I can't tell whether I like the original more or not. I probably just do slightly prefer the original, but this new version is great as well. An amazing theme and vibe here. It would probably be top 10. And lastly, Ice Isle, which is the Ice Spice version of the Shark. Pretty crazy one here, but it's not too bad. I'd probably rank this like 12th. Definitely prefer the original Shark, but this one still looks like a good POI to land at. So that's everything. Which POI from Chapter 2 is your all-time favourite? Most people will probably say the Agency, but leave a comment down below anyway. And for now, there's a lot more videos on screen here. Make sure to click another one to keep on watching, and I'll see you over there.